so few of the winter?
Gadfro's voice has fallen silent in this land. The Tuatha are frightened and disorganized. They run back to Alabastra to make their final stand. We owe you much. Our eyes are opened and our blades unsheathed. Cluricon is won, but the House of Pride stands between us and the final goal. We are now free to press forward. And I can take you to an old friend who knows the next step. Yes, we will take you to his filthy tower on the island of Danistar. He hides within, and has not emerged in some time. I would like nothing more than to let him rot there. But he knows of a way past the Sentinel of the House of Pride. But there will be more danger on the path ahead. Take these blades to prepare for whatever troubles you will face at his tower or beyond. Far to the southwest, there is a darkened tree by the Caelid coast. Meet me there, and we can walk the shadow to the Gnome's tower. Aelin Shear will be waiting there. She was most insistent to join in whatever business you have with the Collector of the Dead. Meet me at the Caelid coast. The Winterfey know of a shadow path to Ventrinio's island. My people are no strangers to exile on the barren island of Danistar. To steal back our freedom, the House of Sorrows forged a path to the coast through living shadow. It's safe so long as you keep your eyes closed during the journey, and ignore the whispers. Danistar Island is sheltered from visitors by stone and storm. Exiles of the Winter Court were once banished to its lonely shores. We know of a secret shadowed path, a legacy from a house all too familiar with exile. We've seen Ventrinio leave the island before, but until recently, he always had company. Usually they were henchmen. Sometimes they were corpses. And once, not too long ago, it was you. Meet me at the Caelid coast. The winters, and once we will meet again at the shadowed tree on the Caelid coast.
Walking through living shadow, eh? I'll leave that one to you. No, I think you can handle that one by yourself. I have some work to do with the army in Cluricon. It's Fey magic. Connects 2 points together like a bridge. I suppose that explains how they got a small group all the way to Dalentarth. I won't lie. Aylin's been a big help. She saved me once or twice at Melson Shear when she could have just let me die. Still can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something. But whatever it is, it's probably... Still can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something. But whatever it is, it's probably not too sinister. Probably.
damn humidity. Well, I expected to see a lot of things out here in Caelid, but not the hero of Melsenshire. What brings you this far? I am Sergeant Odai, twice decorated officer and now civilian escort. I guess you could say that I'm really working my way up the chain of command. No one has called me by my given name in years. I'm just Sergeant now. Been that way for a long while. I used to be a healer, but lost my gifts when the war came. Something about all the carnage, the death, it bled the magic right out of me. So I took up a sword. That was all I could do. We all need to carry our own weight in this tragedy, and mine is to fight. Oh, I never should have ended up here. My family's ship was tossed into the cliffs during a storm, and I was the only survivor. The Ancillars saved me. They raised me as one of their own. I may not be native to these lands, but they are the closest thing I've ever had to a home. I have allowed 2 citizens to travel within my unit, which I probably should not do. But I have a weakness for those in need. Guess it comes from my past as a healer. Oh, Brune the Bard is not so bad. I actually knew him as a kid, if you can believe that. He's a little excitable. I cannot say the same about Alof the Hunter. Strange sort, that one. He insists on staying outside our camp. Says we stand in the way of his quarry. To each his own. Well, the Ancillars saved me. Oh, Brune the Bard is not so bad. I actually knew him as a kid, if you can believe that. He's a little excitable, but harmless. I cannot say the same about Alof the... Farewell.
Hail, adventurer! I am Brune the Bard, spinner of stories, seeker of adventure. Allow me to welcome you to the Caelid coast, haven to the wise and wicked. These brave soldiers, the finest of the Alfar armies. They escorted me all the way from Melsenshire to these verdant lands. Alas, our journey together has come to an end. But there is still adventure to be had, so join me. If not, then I bid you fair warning. Your journey shall be far less exciting without this storyteller at hand. Ah, yes. It has been nearly a decade since I have told tales for an audience, and I seek to reclaim that trade. These soldiers have been of no help. Fight, fight, fight. That's all they think about. So please, let me regale you with tales of the Caelid coast. I will make sure your time is well spent, and there may even be a twist at the end. A wise question, and a fair one. As Bard of the Gastia Court, I know all the tales of the Caelid coast, of how this great land rose and fell, and became what it is now. Allow me the pleasure of your company, and I will lead you through these luxuriant lands, spinning stories of times long since past. Then I bid you goodbye. But my offer stands. Allow me to join you, and not only will I spin tales of the southern coast, but I will give you what I can in compensation. Brune was the name given to me by my mother, a lovely daughter of the full moon. A skin like the glow of alabastra. Long ago, I was the court bard of Castle Gastia, the teller of tales, the spinner of stories. But when the Bolgan invaded, well, they had no need of my expertise. Lord Eren Gastia was a very wealthy lord and a powerful landowner. I don't care to speak much more on the subject, thank you. This lush land was once the royal domain of 2 great Alfar families, the Ancillars and the Gastiers, the most powerful of bloodlines and the most bitter of enemies. For centuries, the 2 houses warred over the coast. So enamored were they with each other that they blinded themselves to the real threat. And so the Bolgan came and conquered. The houses fell before them. One might say they were toppled by their pride. The wonderful gentlemen and ladies of the Alfar armies have been kind enough to act as my loyal escorts, all the way from Melsenshire, and before that, Erethel. Without these good, hearty folk, I never would have survived. The voyage across the sea would have been enough to sink my spirits. Of course, my friend. I am always ready and willing to spin the bright tales of the Caelid coast. I had a good feeling about you. Someone who cherishes a good story. Let us proceed. The first stop on our tour begins across the bridge behind me. Alas, there is one small problem. That area is favored by our enemies. If you can clear the area of them, I will follow and join you. We must clear the spot ahead of Bolgan. It is a famous place, and they sully it with their presence and their stench. Goodbye.
What is it?
Through the woods and mountainside, through the hollows and green meadow, through the summer, winter, day and night, through the hallowed halls of seasons and song, through the vengeance, pride and sorrow, echo the footfalls of the greaves of the Fey Hunter.
Excellent work. You are clearly much more proficient in the ways of war than most visitors of the Caelid coast, even the soldiers. It would be my great pleasure. Picture it, 10 years ago, the rising sun, a lingering fog. Somewhere in the forest are screams, the cries of battle. Then silence. It happened here upon this site. The ambush of Gorn Akri. It is here on this spot where the Bolgan drew first blood, killing Lord Erengastir, his son, and their squires during their morning ride. Let us move on, shall we? And if you don't mind, there are more beasts to attend to ahead. The Bolgan have infested the entire area around Castle Gastir, my old home. Destroy them, and I will relate the tale of the first Lord of Gastir himself. Goodbye.
The Tuatha have forced their war upon us. They eagerly cut through mortal flesh and mortal bone, and as a reminder of their butchery, they display these mortal corpses throughout the land, turning sanctity into putrescence. The bodies remain on our ground and on our gallows tree, bloated and corrupt.
A fledgling hunter by the looks of it. What's someone so soft doing in the Caelid coast? Don't you know this is Bolgan country? Those red devils are really digging. I've slain many on my hunt for Chernabog. The scars don't give me away? Ha! You're probably the first person in recorded history not to recognize the mighty Alof the Hunter. Usually my reputation precedes me. As for why I am here in this muggy puddle of piss, I intend to conquer Chernabog, the mighty Bolgan, and win his eye as my trophy. But first he must be summoned, for he won't just face any foe, you know. Only those he deems worthy to smite with his blade. Ha! You're certainly welcome to try, but I'm afraid he'll be much too dead by the time I finish with him. Besides, you still have the offering to consider. Chernabog will only battle those who can prove their ferocity. It is his way of swatting away the flies who don't offer enough of a thrill for his fiery blood. If you can collect the eyes of 10 Bolgans, then you are clearly a warrior who deserves a reckoning. Set the eyes upon Chernabog's war lanterns and the beast will emerge. By offering the bloodthirsty beast, once you place that bloody offering on the pedestal and light the war fires, the ugly brute will emerge. Ha! My hunts are the stuff of legend. Not even that fey armor tear can boast to have tracked and slain more prey than I. And now I intend to claim Chernobog, the Bolgan champion, as my greatest trophy from the Caelid coast. I've traveled the world and hunted all manner of beasts. I tracked them down, claimed their heads and hides as mine. Krang the Etin, I slew him, as I did the Fist of Corthis and the clan of Craddock elders in Gallifall. Grand fellows and courageous to a fault. They're the ones who accompanied me this far, helped me pass through all their bloody checkpoints. Of course, once I had the chance to take leave of them, I did. One doesn't need a band of glory hunters following him on the most glorious hunt of his career. The Tuatha and the Bolgan have kept this land in their greedy pockets for more than 10 years. They can have it for all I care. It's a stagnant pit of decay and despair. The oldest and mightiest of the living Bolgan, he led the armies of Gadflo to victory over the houses of Ancilla and Gastir. Chernobog may be ancient and marred by war, but don't let that fool you. He is as strong as ever. Goodbye.
Hello. You have done it. You have rid the gates of the Bolgan. As promised, I have another tale to be told. The very first Eren Gastir arrived here generations ago from Mel Senshir, before the final tower was raised, when the great giants of Cluracan were but saplings. On that very first morning of his arrival, while the sun ascended the sky, Gastir scaled the heights and saw below him the great keep of the merchant Ancilla. Gastir could not bear such an intrusion on his new ancestral homeland, and swore an oath. By right of mine, and sword in hand, I will not forsake our native land. Now that you've seen Castle Gastir, we should move on to the final stop on our journey. The last thing I want to show you is near the coast, on the cliffs overlooking the sea. It's the best story yet, but again, it must be freed of Bolgan. Goodbye. There, you've cleansed this place of the Bolgan. I shall tell you the last tale, the best of the lot. Believe me, these cliffs were made for my story. I've told the tale of the first Erengustir, he who discovered these lands. And I've told the tale of his descendant, the last Erengustir, he who lost these lands. My final tale is that this last lord took a young mistress to his bed, a servant named Wilda Brandon. They had a child he refused to claim as his own. To assuage his guilt, he wrote a royal letter in which he decreed to her and the child great wealth. But rather than take that letter, she took her own life. Here, that woman was my mother. Hear me, friend. I do not have much, but I will offer you all that I have to find me that letter. The letter that broke my mother's heart. I will read it, and I will finally know if what my mother told me was true. Then I will destroy it. I want nothing to do with the Gustiers. My mother never wanted his kingdom. She only wanted his love. That letter has haunted me for 10 years. I will now be rid of it. Of him. Friends. Yes. I suppose we are friends. I'm not sure where to look for Father's letter. Father. It's strange to call him that. I would think he'd keep it near, lest such revelations be discovered. The castle. That would make some sense, wouldn't it? I'll be back at camp. Be careful. I would feel terrible if anything happened to you. I remember my father having a chest near his throne. I always assumed it was where he kept his mother's personal possessions. Goodbye.
The hunter runs. The hunter runs. Swiftly, swiftly for our lives. A mortal skirt of chain. A mesh of links forged in secret. The hunter runs. The hunter runs. In the chausses of the Fey Hunter.
Is left in this world. But here before me stands the hero of Melsenshire, in the skin, fresh from the Baelor's blooding, and it appears my prayers have been answered. Tell me, how much goodwill do you have left, honored one? A Tuatha priest named Rassanon has captured this keep. I am sworn to destroy him, for it was he who deposed House Gestir and stole their ancestral home. For 10 long years he has lived as a lord, hiding high in the royal quarters where none can reach him. At least, not without help. You see, I am Hilared Gastier, descendant of Lord Aaron Gastier and last of my family line. This castle and all within it belong to me. My great-great-grandfather built this keep. You can still find the one stone resting where he laid it in the courtyard. We spent 4 generations in these hallowed halls. Then the Bolgan came, followed by their Tuatha masters. They killed everyone, Fae and Alfar alike. Rasanon was the worst of them. He murdered my mother and now sleeps in my family's chambers. With your help, Honored One, my family will find restitution. You will be rewarded, my friend. We Gastiers have long memories of both our friends and our enemies. Come. Rasanon knows I cannot pass through his gauntlet alone, but together we can avenge Castle Gastier. The castle has been completely ransacked by the Bolgan, and debris blocks the gate into the castle. We have to go around through the dungeon. Then I will have my revenge. Believe me, it has been far too long in coming. I grew up behind the walls of this stronghold. All my memories are of its beauty, its security. It was an ideal childhood. Those days have long since. When the Tuatha marched, it was Rasanon who killed my family and claimed Castle Gastier as his own. And though he may hold the castle, he will never hold its name. I have devoted my entire life to reclaiming this castle, enlisting in the army, fighting under General Tilera, and then breaking free of Melsenshire. This is my destiny. I am a captain under what is left of General Tilera's army. There are only a handful of us left after Melsenshire, but we press southward toward the Tuatha's lair. However, my quest for justice means more to me than any victory. I have left my soldiers in the capable hands of Captain Canwin. She has moved ahead without me. It has stood here on the Caelid coast for centuries, a testament to the will of my ancestors. Rasanon made it a grave. Now I will make it his. Were you not told the stories as a child of Rasanon the Ravager? Rasanon the Red-Eyed? He was one of the first to give himself to Gadflow. It is my life's work to make him answer for his crimes. Old as I am, he is older. And I don't want him to die without knowing the rage of his killer. Yes, I remember Brune. He was kind, silly. There weren't many like him in the court. When everyone else was so grim, Brune and his heart never ceased singing. I wonder how he fares now. Hurry. Keep going. This is harder than I thought. What do you need to know? Hurry! Let's go. Go. Let's go. He didn't even seem to remember me. I've given my life to finding and killing Rassilon, and he probably didn't even understand why. But now the quest is ended, here, at home. I want you to have everything of mine as a reward, and to help me forget the many years of tragedy that led me to this end. Now go. I need rest. I deserve rest. These old halls have been held too long by the Bolgan. Castle Gestir has been left a ruin. Once this war is over, we will rebuild. My days of blades and battles are behind me. With the aid of people like you, I shall rebuild the Caelid coast. The name Gestir will mean something again. Farewell.
Be on your guard.
You have gone through much to bring me this, only to watch it destroyed. But it must be done. You understand? This letter proves that I am an heir to Gastir, and an heir to his heartlessness. He gave my mother everything, when all she wanted was his love. And now, she's gone. You are my friend. You may not agree, but that is what I choose to believe. You have helped me more than anyone has. I will remember you. I hope you will remember me. She may be the only one truly worthy of the Gastir name, superior to her father in every way. I remember Hill. She and I used to play together in the courtyard. I try not to think of her as a sister. It makes matters all the more confusing. Farewell.
Who approaches me?
I think at first they were genuine friends. We were so young, with nothing in the world to really concern us. There was no place for malice or resentment. I don't care anymore, they're not worth my breath. I was in a place of promise. Lyria's magic shined throughout the halls. New and interesting people were everywhere. None as interesting as that divine spirit, but promising. I learned more there in 2 days than I did my entire life elsewhere. In fact, I owe my mentors a debt of gratitude. Were it not for them, I would never have found it.
sorrow precedes you, mortal. It is almost enough to shift the great scale on its own. It has been centuries since my reverie was last disturbed. For what cause are you here? What could a mortal possibly want with me? I was another of the wretches that the Weeping King saved when he first walked into the Feylands. When he pulled the rot of winter from me, I learned how I too could do the same. So I learned the finer points of his magic, and followed him as the first Delver. Though all of the house are the followers of the Weeping King, the Delvers are his true disciples. They can delve into the sorrows of another, just as he did. It was formed as a way to keep the winter traditions of decay and rot while building a winter court. But in time, we lost true sight of what the essence of winter was. The sorrows are the inheritance of the House of Sorrows, so to speak. We have been working at delving for centuries, collecting and shaping this magic, but we had never thought that it could be exploited. Do the Tuatha revere nothing? Amalur and I have been apart for some time. I think it will be good when this business is over to resume our meditations together. They are Amalur's orders. In many ways, they are the stewards of the House of Sorrows, while delvers deal in the spiritual. Tenders see to the corporeal. That moniker holds no meaning to a true Fae. What is age to the ageless, to the immortal? Bizarrain, I have been sealed in here for some time, mortal. But even I know this one. His is the hand that leads the House of Sorrows, no? I know something of the war this land cries of. I will serve. But before I go to his side, you must find Amalur. She and I are as one. Once, long ago, Amalur and I walked the midden as faithful devotees of the Weeping King. She a tender, and I a delver. We were the first of our kind. But when the Weeping King passed, there was nothing. The House of Sorrows that he had built no longer served death, but the winter court that it itself had created. So Amalur and I left. We came here. We devoted ourselves to the contemplation of death, as the Weeping King would have wanted. Once, long ago. But when the Weeping King passed, there was nothing. The House of Sorrows that he had built no longer served, so Amalur and I left. We came here. We devoted ourselves to the contemplation of death. It means much to me that you wish to reunite us. We have been long in isolation, contemplating death. Perhaps too long. As you found me on one part of the scale, so will you find her on the other. Now I will leave my cell to wait for you both. She tends to the scale as I have for these many centuries. You must reset the scale in order to reach her chamber. Among our kind he was, and he remains singular. None could do now what he did, to naturally find the sorrows in others and delve into their being. And though he formed the House of Sorrows, though he saw the birth of the Court of Winter, he did not remain. By choice or fate, he went to Ashara, never to return. I think this war has exhausted all other Winter Fae who knew the Weeping King as he walked. But though Amalur and I remain, I can scarce recall him. Very well.
How curious. You are mortal, but your steps resound with a burden greater than any one mortal might ever hope to bear. More curious still is your presence here. The great scale is not idly moved, nor is my reverie broken without cause. What is your purpose? Of the Weeping King's disciples, we were the first. Standing on the edge of the midden, we bore witness to him, transforming our people into something more. We vowed to never let that memory fade. Though death did call, we remained in this world, so that the knowledge of the Weeping King persisted. Along with the Weeping King, it was Caelrod with whom I watched the rise of winter. We were fated to be the first tender and delver. I think too long have we been in these contemplations, isolated. When this affair is over, I think we will reunite in earnest. Of the Weeping King's disciples, we were the first. Standing, we vowed to never let that memory fade. They are the heart of this collective. A delver can take the sorrows into their being like the Weeping King did. Becoming a delver means mastering his art. Of that order, I was the first. I had the strength to answer the Weeping King and take the burden of other fae, but I could not hear the sorrows within them. And so I was to honor the midden and tend its depths, so that nature would forever know that we have honored her call for decay. In the beginning, it venerated death, but in time the house was revered by winter fae for its sacrifice. The sorrows, they were meant to stand as a monument to the work of the house, and now they stand on being used as a tool for war. Despicable. Caelrod and I have lived long in this world, it is true, but our choice was not driven by some manner of self-preservation. It was to learn. All fae return their life energy to Ashara on death. But the nature of winter fae, their essence, lies in the decomposition and decay of all things. Caelrod and I have forsaken being reborn anew to embrace the rotting of the corporeal world among us. That is where nature truly lies. The first king of the House of Sorrows, and perhaps the greatest winter fae to walk these lands, he taught us to delve and to bear the burden of winter. But when the realms of winter were freed of this burden, the Weeping King left this world, never to return. It has been long since that transpired. So long, in fact, that I cannot even recall his face or his presence. But it was powerful. Being in his presence was to know the sorrow of our race. I have felt the shifting of the scale. I know that Caelrod has now ended his contemplations to serve the King of Sorrows. It is no small thing that he asks, for the knowledge that was given to us by the Weeping King was never to propagate nor to be exploited. But I know of the times that are upon us. Come, let us join with Caelrod. If Bizerain and you are to find the Sorrows, then it is more than my knowledge you will need. Where we must meet, come, and the eldest will be reunited before you. Goodbye. I am gladdened that Caelrod and I are united once again. But if Bizerain truly seeks the Sorrows, then he will need more than the knowledge of the eldest. There is a key of sorts to the Sorrows. It lies in the hollow of Sincere, the hollow of the Weeping King. We must recover it. Yes, a mortal is not suited to this task, perhaps, but I do not believe we have time to find another to do this for us. We have not asked you to reunite us without cause. Our efforts must be divided. Bizerain must be instructed, and the key must be found. One of us will accompany you to Sincere, and the other will go to the house. We leave the choice to you, mortal. Caelrod and I have different skills, but both of us are capable of guiding you through Sincere. I do not deny there will be hardships we must combat. For that, I rely on my Fey blades, while Kaelrod uses his magics. Which is of more use is up to you. Very well. I have not had cause to use my blades in some time. I will shadow step to Sincere, and await you to meet me there. Our work awaits, mortal. Let us make haste. Goodbye. Like the gilded ghosts of youth, the curving plates of fey-like scrolls decorate the life's guard of this impostor. It says, "I am like you, fey spirit," and shimmers with a brilliant gleam. This cuirass of the fey hunter,
The strength of contempt, fear, and hate courses through the rushing veins to the very fingertips. The instruments of war are readied, light in the grip, and machinations of the gauntlets of the Fey Hunter.
You there. You must help me. There isn't much time. I'm the last one. The others may still be alive. My name is Finn, General Finn of Tilera's army. My men and I were part of a unit called the Ariod that pushed into Cluricon, clearing the way for the enlisted swords. We were securing the dungeons of Castle Ancilla when it happened. A band of Tuatha marched in and claimed the keep as a defensive position. We got caught in the middle. I tried to get us out, but we were surrounded, trapped. That fool Private Gottlieb shoved me down the refuse pipe. It's how I broke my leg. That's all I remember. I'm not entirely sure. Things happened fast. But it appears that the Tuatha are planning to form a hasty defense here to fight our progress in the Caelid coast. If they can keep us occupied here, it will give them time to prepare a strong counterattack in the south, near Moondown Hill, and deep into central Alabastra. You're a brave soul. Warriors like you must have made the difference in Melsenshir. I wasn't there, but I heard it was quite the battle. The gates to Ancilla are chained and defended, but you can slip in undetected through the refuse pipe. You won't enjoy it, but it's a direct route. Find Private Gottlieb. I have a feeling he's the last one alive. I still hope, but I have no illusions about what you'll find. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. You can slip past the castle's defenses by climbing in through the refuse pipe. I can tell you from experience that it's not a pleasant journey. My parents were wealthy merchants in Rathir, people who did not appreciate the ease in which they had found themselves. I wanted to do better. I wanted to serve. For years I fought against the Tuatha and their corrupt, maddening ways. We had them at first, I know we did. But then something changed. They became unstoppable. My men and I were handpicked by General Tilera to infiltrate the Tuatha lines at Melsenshir and sow confusion in the ranks. Ancilla was the key to the Caelid coast, a fortress overlooking the House of Pride and the passage into Alabastra. That's where our mission ended in disaster. The estate of Lady Clary Ancilla once stretched all the way from the Caelid coast north to Cursewood. But that was before the Gastiers invaded and built their own keep. That is a long story. And you may have met Captain Rune Ancilla. That is a long story. And both those families fell into ruin with the arrival of the Bulgan. You may have met Captain Rune Ancilla. He is the last living heir to the keep. He can have it. An ancient ruin, once home to the great Alfar royals of House Ancilla, but any honor it once housed has been tarnished by the Tuatha inside. Their cruelty is inspired. My men are waiting.
If you get a chance to speak to Aloth the Hunter, ask him to tell your story. You do not think Captain Gastier is related to the royal stinking swamp? And I thought Cursewood was...
Blessed Lyria, I know you. That's right. The last time I saw you was when you dangled from the Baelor like a drop of spittle on a Bolgan's chin. Mercy! The hero of Melson Shear. I'd know the face anywhere. Let me guess. The army has you out here on a special mission? Me, I'm just trying to live through the nights, trying to find a bit of time to myself, to explore. Really? You know where we are, don't you? This is the Caelid Coast, land of the Alfar Lords. Ancilla and Gastier, the Southern Lights, the Lady's Children? You really don't know, do you? This land is home to many mysteries, and supposedly many treasures as well. My favorite? The Lady's Children. They're a collection of frond-leaf dolls, very rare, very valuable. Legend says they were lost in the invasion. I'd go out in search of them, but duty calls. Old Lady Clary was the last bride of House Ancilla, and insane. They say she spoke to spirits, and that she smothered her own infant child. Her only love was a collection of dolls, a love that bordered on obsession. She took them everywhere, gave them names, and even slept with them at night. Most scholars believe that the Lady's Children, as they came to be called, held some special meaning for her. But what? You would do that? Even with all the other, more pressing matters at hand? My sister is not going to believe this. The hero of Melson Shear. Legend says that the dolls were last seen in Lady Ancilla's hands when her family was murdered. So I was just going to look around the ruins. I'd try the Ancilla ruins, and maybe the castle. The dolls were last seen on Lady Ancilla when her family was killed by the Bolgan. I'm from the plains of Erithel, from Colne. My family moved west after the invasion, but I chose instead to fight. I think about them every day. Ancient, magical auras that float across the Caelid coast at night. No one is sure what they mean or how they got there, but I hear they're beautiful. After you put a dagger into the Baelor at Melson Shear, the rest of us were sent in to mop up the mess made by the Tuatha. We keep pressing south to Alabastra. The poor hag was driven mad by her isolation out here on the Caelid coast. They say she took the life of her youngest, smothered him with her chamber pillow. After that, it was only a matter of time until every last breath of reason blew out of her. She made the dolls, and they became her new family. All I know is that they're fashioned from brittle frond leaves, and that the Lady Ancilla kept them close at all times. I suspect there was something inside them.
Don't be afraid. I know who you are, and this is a safe place. Welcome to my camp. I am Captain Droon Ancilla,
great-great-grandson of Clary Ancilla, and heir to the Caelid coast. Unlike the Tuatha, I am a gracious host. Please, come, warm yourself at our fire. Anything we have to offer is yours. I've fought countless battles and survived an interminable siege to return to my native land. Nostalgia does not drive me. I am here for what's rightfully mine. But taking my place on the throne will not be easy. Before he died, my father hid the symbols of his station so they would not be stolen. I speak of the famous Seal of Ancilla and the verdant blades, my father's royal medallion and war chakrams. Without them, I am nothing but a soldier. Caelid was once a lush, vibrant domain, ruled by my father and his brother Port. It had been in our family for generations, and our subjects were a peaceful people. Of course, the Gastier family was constantly claiming the land as their own, going so far as to build a castle that looked down upon us. Looked down on us. The seal was forged by my great-great-grandmother, the first Clary Ancilla, mother of the Caelid nobles. She crafted it herself from scarab salts and terrenium. The verdant blades belonged to my father. He used them in the many battles fought to secure our borders. They have no equal in Cluricon, or anywhere for that matter. I was hoping you'd volunteer. Getting the heirlooms will be a challenge. You see, they are held in a family lockbox, the key to which is not in my possession. As for the key, I made a mistake. I was young, foolish. The night before the Bolgan came, I gave the key to a girl. She was... how can I put this? My childhood love. Her name is Hilared Gastier. Yes, a Gastier, a sworn enemy of House Ancilla. It was a gesture. I meant to show her what she meant to me. But now, she has what I need. If you can convince Hilared to give you the key, you will need to retrieve the items from the lockbox in the old family fortress of Seawatch to the east. Good luck. The last I saw of Hilared was at the Battle of Mel Senshir. She became a soldier like me. I'm not surprised. She was always tough. Try checking her family's keep, Castle Gastier. She would likely go there. If she survived, that is. I was only 10 years old when the Bolgan came. All I remember of this place are scattered memories. My mother's screams. My father's blood on my boots. I've devoted every coin of our family fortune to the war effort, knowing that one day I'd return to the coast and reclaim what was mine. I was raised here. Strange how small it all seems now. Almost like we were all playing at being lords of this land, and that we never had any real power. Even now I can feel it. The darkness. The place doesn't want us here. It never has. Why else would such tragedy have befallen my family? Every dark corner is cursed. We're trickling in from the drowned forest in isolated units. Not a cohesive front, which is a problem. The geography, the foliage, it's a logistical nightmare. Captain Trav was able to force a wedge into the Tuatha defenses, enough to slip into Alabastra. But breaking through is one thing, holding the line is another. How I long to see Hilared again. But my responsibility to my family comes first. Goodbye.
It's good to see you again. It gets somewhat lonely up here. I knew a Droon and Scylla years ago, but that was another life, and I was another person. My quest here is what matters. It has consumed me. Did you say the Ancilla key? Why, yes, of course I have it. In 10 years, I've never let it leave my sight. Are you saying that Droon is alive? That he's here? Wait, this could be a trick. How do I know you're not here to seize the Gastir domain just as I'm about to win it back? Droon, I'd never forget. Our families stoked such hate. But I could never hate Droon. He was the reason I wanted to survive the Bolgan, to come back, start over. Take the key, give it to Droon. Send him good wishes. Perhaps when all of this is over, he and I can resume our friendship. Goodbye.
Your terror.
You found me. Oh! Wait! You're not going to tell anyone about me, are you? Not that I've done anything wrong, mind you. I just didn't have the will to fight anymore. So I stopped. Fighting, that is. Private Elia Madmere reporting for duty. Oh, I am not fooling anyone. Listen, I've got some useful skills to trade if you're willing to keep my little secret hushed. Lockpicking for your silence, or gold. So, you already know I ran from my post. So, well, you probably consider me a coward. You wouldn't be wrong. Silly, isn't it? A young girl enlists in the army, but then panics at the sight of battle. Probably wonder what I expected. I know I do. Been in the service for 3 years, and it's been 3 years too long. One person can't make a difference in this war. At least, not if that person is me. Our forces are having a rough time of it, what with all the Tuatha about, but we'll get through. We got this far. We're not going to give up now. If you've killed one, you've killed them all. They're like weeds, reaching up every spring despite how many you cut down the winter before. It's a talent, really. A sleight of hand trick that my older brother taught me so we could nab ale from our uncle's footlocker. It sure comes in useful out here. Bye!
Greetings. Oh, how can I ever begin to thank you? What an ordeal that was. Quite the ordeal indeed. Please, let me introduce myself. I am Bern Elgar, head steward of House Ancilla. Of course, since the house no longer exists, that means I now serve you. Do not misunderstand. I adore the Lord and Lady, but my first responsibility is to the fortress itself, to Sea-Watch. But of course it is. Do you see anyone else of substance, another soul deserving of such a prize? Surely not. Sea-Watch was the first of the Ancilla castles, and the finest. But without its staff, it is a lonely place, its halls empty of the voices that once filled it. As your newest and only advisor, I suggest that we begin renovations. It'll be costly, mind you, but well worth... Wonderful, my liege, wonderful. You will not regret it. The corridors of Sea-Watch will once again ring with merriment. That is, if there were people here to make merriment. If I might make another suggestion, it would be nice if you were able to convince the former staff to return. I would start with Connie, a rather quirky and elemental fey alchemist who found a place in our master's heart as his gardener. Connie was unique, even among her own kind. The last we saw of the poor creature, she was being pursued by Bolgan, and I fear she was taken prisoner. Oh, Connie. She spent much of her time wandering the gardens of old Castle Ancilla, where the family lived. Of course, word has it that she was locked away by the Bolgan, poor thing. Really, my liege? You wish to know about me? Why, I am Bern Elgar, he who lives to serve his charges at Sea-Watch. Where to begin? Well, I attended to the young lord before he was master of all the lands before him. Then I tutored and served his son, young Master Droon. Ancilla was once a mighty name, a mighty line. Few like them remain.